Ucan, what a beautiful day in space! The stars are sparkling. It's very, very quiet, as always. What do you have planned? Oh, you're going to take a little space cruise. Going to see the sights. Sounds nice. But you're not entirely sure how to get your spacecraft started. Looks like you've got a control panel here, and a special combination you're going to need to put in to get this guy started. Your combination is a half, a third, a fourth, a sixth, and an eighth. All unit fractions. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can get this first button shaded into halves. Let's give it a shot. I need to partition this hole into 2 halves. The way I do that is I just draw a line halfway down the middle, and now I have 1 half and 2 halves. I'm going to go ahead and draw 1 part. Doesn't have to be perfect, guys. So that's half of my whole. And then I'm going to write the unit fraction. Remember, the unit fraction is 1 part of my whole. I have 2 parts here. That's why my denominator is 2, because the denominator tells me the total number of parts I'm talking about. However, with a unit fraction, I'm always talking about 1 of those parts. So I'm talking about 1 of my 2. That's why my unit fraction is 1/2. I think we got this, Ucan. Come on, let's go to your control panel. Let's go ahead and activate that half. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now, what was that second part of the combination? Let's pull out your checklist. That's right, a third. So on the second button, we need to figure out how to partition the whole into thirds. Now I'll break my whole into thirds. The way I break something into thirds that really helps me is if I put a dot right in the middle of my whole. If it's a circle, this works out well. And then I'll just draw lines about every third of the way across. So now I can see I have 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, and because I had to draw this, they're about the same size. They really should be exactly the same size, but I'm human. So I've partitioned my whole into thirds. Now I'll go ahead and draw what 1/3 or 1 part of that whole looks like. There's about 1/3. And my unit fraction, this time, check it out. I have more parts. So my denominator will need to be a 3 because this time I have 3 parts altogether. And of course, like always, I'm talking about 1 of those 3 parts when I'm talking about my unit fraction. So this is my unit fraction drawn, and here's the number that represents that 1/3. Take a look at the control panel. Go ahead. Activate that second button. Nice job. What was next on our combination? Let's take a look at our list. Looks like fourths is next. We need to activate a fourth on that third button. I think we've got this. Remember, this time you're going to be doing this on your own. There's a pencil up in the corner. What are you going to need to think about? Well, first, I'd partition my whole into 4 equal groups. Then I'd draw a fourth. And last, I'd write the unit fraction. Don't forget to pause your video. It's super important. You want to make sure that you give your ideas a chance to launch. Now I'll partition my whole into fourths. It's pretty easy because I just do a line halfway across vertically, and then I draw one horizontally. So now I have 4 equal parts. So I know with my unit fraction, I'm going to have a denominator of 4 because I'm talking about all together 4 parts. Let's draw one of these fourths. There we go. That's about a fourth. And the way I'll do my unit fraction is I'm talking about 1 of the 4. So I've got a 1 up here. Here is 1/4. And here is the number that represents that picture. Time for the control panel again. Let's go ahead and activate that third button. Let's put in our fourth. You got it. Okay, let's check out the combination again. Looks like this time we need to put in a 6th. Remember, this time it's a pencil problem. So first, on your own, partition your whole into 6 equal groups. Then draw a 6th, and last, write the unit fraction. Don't forget to pause the video and give your mind some space to think. This time, I'll partition my whole into 6ths. It's a little tricky. It's kind of like the thirds. So what I'll do is I'll put that dot in the middle to help me kind of see the middle point, and then I'll draw 3 lines. Now I've got 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, but I want 6th, so I'm going to break each of my thirds in half, and that will give me 6 equal parts. A 6th. What's my unit fraction look like as a drawing? That's a 6th. 6th kind of looks like a pizza slice, doesn't it? And my unit fraction, I'm talking about 1, and of course I'm talking about 1 of how many pieces? I'm talking about 1 of 6. So my denominator tells how many total parts there are, and my numerator is telling me how many I'm talking about, and I'm talking about 1 of those 6. Ucan, let's find your control panel and activate that 6th. Can you do it? You got it. Let's check our combination again. Looks like we need an 8th in the last button. I think you got this. Remember, it's a pencil problem, so you'll want to partition the last circle into 8 groups. Then draw an 8th, and last, write your unit fraction. Don't forget to pause the video. Super important. You need to give your mind a chance to plan it. You don't think that's very funny? I do. This last whole I'm going to partition into 8ths. I can do that a lot like I did the 4ths. I can do a straight line dividing my whole vertically, then a line that divides it horizontally. Then I'm just going to break each of those 4ths in half. Now I've got 8 equal parts. What does the unit fraction look like? What's 1/8 look like? It's gonna look like that. And 1/8, we've got 8 equal parts here. It's gonna be my denominator. And when I'm talking about a unit fraction, I'm talking about one of those eighths. Okay, Ucan, let's get our last button activated. You did it. Is it gonna start? Oh my goodness, it's launching. Ucan? Oh my goodness, there you go. Ahead and rotate my sheet of paper so that it's turned horizontally so I can read this question here. Ucan, what do you think? What did you notice? What happens to the size of the pieces, these pieces here, these unit fraction pieces, as the denominator increases? I underlined that word because I want you to know what that means. When something increases, it gets bigger. Let's rotate it back for just a second. So as my denominator, as the digit in my denominator got bigger and bigger and bigger, what happened to the size, the actual size of my unit fraction, of my piece? What happened to that? Take a moment to think. Are you thinking what I'm thinking, Ucan? As the denominator got bigger, the piece got smaller. The bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece. Let's jot that down. I think that might be kind of important. So as the denominator increased, the size of the piece got smaller. Oh, I think this is an exclamation mark moment. Let's do that. So let's stop and think a little bit more. Why does this happen? Why does the larger the denominator make a smaller piece? Stop and think for a second. You know, I think this happens because the whole is being partitioned or sliced up into or split up into smaller and smaller pieces. The more pieces we have to break our whole into, obviously the smaller the pieces are going to be. So if you had a whole pizza and you had to split that pizza among 2 people, guess what? Your pieces are going to be really big. But if you had 8 people and you had to split one whole pizza among 8 people, your pieces are going to be smaller. Let's jot that thinking down too. This happens because the whole is being partitioned or split up into more and more pieces. I'm really gonna have room and write pieces right here. I think that's an exclamation mark moment too. Okay, so I guess you can, if you're gonna be sharing a piece of pizza, you wanna break it into halves, not eighths. It's gonna make Ucan, it looks like you're having a great time. Seeing lots of stuff? Oh, you're not having a great time. Oh, you can't get it to stop? Ucan, are you getting a headache? It's just going round and round and so fast. Looks like it might be time to turn your rocket off. But uh-oh, your rocket takes a combination to stop. Did you learn that one? Do you have a combination? You do. Good. Okay, but this time, that looks a little trickier. You'd think they make the stopping one the easiest one. You're going to have to put in some fractions in order to stop this rocket. Okay, quick, before you lose your lunch, let's name some fractions and enter them in the control board. Let's go. Now let's work on combining unit fractions to make other fractions. Look at this model. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal parts. This whole has been broken into 8 equal parts. So I know if I had a unit fraction, there would be an 8 in the denominator and a 1 on top, because I'd be talking about one of those eighths. How many unit fractions do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 unit fractions shaded. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1/8 together 5 times. 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8? It equals 5/8. So I know that 5/8 of this model has been shaded. Ucan, how you doing? Oh, you must be so dizzy. Okay, let's get to that control panel fast. Can you reach it? There it is. Let's put in our 5/8. You got it. Okay, let's check out the combination. Let's get to this quick. Let's figure out what our fraction is and put it in the control board. How many total parts do I have here? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So there must be a 4 in my denominator because there's 4 total parts. In one of my parts, talking about 1, so this is the unit fraction, I need to add 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 to find the total number of fourths I have. You know, another name for a unit fraction is a counting fraction. I can use my unit fractions to count a total number of something. So it's 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. This model shows 3/4. Make it stop! Let's find that control panel! Quick! Okay, let's get 3/4 put in there. We got it. Now let's check out the combination. What's next? Oh boy, number 3 looks tricky. But I think we can do this, Ucan. Let's get to work. In this whole, I have 2 parts. So there's going to be a 2 in my denominator. And how many of those unit fractions have been shaded? 2 of them have. So I'll write 1/2 plus 1/2. Guess what? 1/2, 2 halves. I have 2 halves. And another way to say 2 halves, or 2 out of 2, is 1 whole. Because the whole thing is shaded. Ucan, you didn't eat sardines for breakfast again, did you? I don't think I can bear to clean that up. Let's get it activated. Press that button. 2 halves. Awesome. Okay, let's check your combination. What's next? I think you've really got this, Ucan. Oh, but this is a pencil problem. That means we're going to need your help. What things might you need to think about in your pencil problem? Well, the first thing I do is write a unit fraction number sentence. And then I use those unit fractions to count and name my fraction. Don't worry, you've got stellar ideas, so pause and let them shine.
You do on your own. Did you see that there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal parts? And did you use that knowledge to understand that your denominator must be 6? And then could you see that you had 1, 2, 3, 4 of those unit fractions shaded? So then maybe you added 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 equals 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 4/6.
Deep breaths, Ucan. Deep breaths. Think of a happy place. We're getting closer. Okay, let's activate that. 4/6. Only 2 more to go. Let's check out your combination. Okay, I think we've got this. Another pencil problem means that we're going to need to go ahead and make a number sentence using thirds. And then once we've made our number sentence, we're going to use that number sentence to name our fraction. Pause the video and let your thinking blast off.
How'd you do? Did you see that you had 3 parts altogether? Maybe you used that to give your denominator a 3. And then you saw you had 2 unit fractions shaded. So you knew it was going to be 1/3 plus 1/3. 1/3, 2/3, 2/3 of your model is shaded.
Ucan, I hope they trained you for this in astronaut school. What do you mean you didn't go to astronaut school? Okay, press that button fast. You got it. Okay, let's take a look at your clipboard. I think we got this. Remember, it's a pencil problem, so you're going to need to try this on your own. First, I'd start by writing a unit fraction number sentence using eighths. Then I'd use that to name a fraction. Just know that you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know it's a good idea to pause the video, so do it.
How many equal parts did you have this time? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You had 8 equal parts. So your denominator must be 8. How many unit fractions did you need to add together? How many unit fractions were shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of them were 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8. 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 1/8 plus 1/8. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8. 6/8 of your whole is shaded.
Okay, Ucan, let's push that final button. We're there. Let's stop this spacecraft. We did it. I guess it pays off to know fractions.